Hello friends, welcome to all of you. Myself Dr. Venkatesh Gopala. This is lecture number 3 on atomic spectroscopy. In our first lecture on atomic spectroscopy, we have seen the introductory part of atomic spectroscopy and energy level diagram of sodium, potassium and calcium. In our last lecture, we have seen introductory part of flame emission spectroscopy, principle and details instrumentation of flame photometry. In this lecture, we will see the application and limitations of flame emission spectroscopy. Let's see one by one. Applications of flame emission spectroscopy. The first application is the identification of elements. Now, this flame emission spectroscopy is useful for the identification of elements which are present in the sample. This flame emission spectroscopy is mostly used for detection of alkali metals, that is a group 1 metals, for example lithium, potassium, sodium, etc. And also the alkaline earth metals which are belongs to the group 2 elements, for example barium, magnesium and calcium, etc. The next application is the filter flame photometry is used for the detection of a small number of elements like potassium, sodium and calcium. So these are useful for the determination of a small number of elements. The next application is using monochromator. Many elements can be detected simultaneously in presence of one another just by rotating the monochromator prism slowly. This type of a monochromator is very useful in detection of metals in alloy. This flame photometry is routinely used in detection of sodium, potassium, calcium, aluminum, cobalt, and iron in biological fluids and tissues. Also, it is used in determination of again sodium, potassium, calcium, aluminum, cobalt, iron, and titanium in soil samples, rock samples, water, also in glasses, ores, alloys, cement, petroleum products, and metallurgical products also. So, in this type of materials, these elements are detected by using the flame photometry. The last one is the flame photometry is used for the determination of boron, which are present in the organic compounds. The next application of a flame emission spectroscopy is a quantitative analysis. The first one is a calibration curve method. In this type of curve method, the first of all we have to prepare a series of solutions of known concentrations, for example 1 ppm to 10 ppm, which is prepared initially. The prepared solutions are then introduced one by one into the flame. Then, using proper filter, the intensity of emission is determined or recorded for each standard solutions which are introduced into the flame. Then, in the same way, the unknown solution is also introduced into the flame and its emission intensity is also determined. In this way, we will get the emission intensities of all standard solutions as well as the unknown solution. Then we have to plot a calibration curve in which the intensity of emission is plotted against the concentration of the element as shown in the graph. A straight line is obtained which is passing through the origin. So the concentration of element in the unknown solution can be determined very easily. So this is a graph in which we can see the concentration of elements is taken on x-axis and emission intensity on y-axis. So after plotting the concentration versus intensity, so such type of straight line which is passing through origin is obtained. From this line or from this curve, the unknown solution and its concentration can be determined by using the graph. So this is a calibration curve method. It is one of the application of a flame emission spectroscopy. The next method in quantitative analysis is standard addition method. Now in this method, the sample of unknown solution concentration is introduced into the flame, and its emission intensity is determined with reference to blank. Okay, in this standard addition method, a sample of a solution of unknown concentration X is introduced into the flame, and its intensity emission is recorded. Okay, and then a series of solutions containing definite amount of that unknown solution, that is unknown concentration, that is X, plus varying amount of a standard solution from 1 ppm to 100 ppm, which are introduced into the flame, and their emission intensities are determined with reference to the blank. Then we will get such type of a graph which intersect the y-axis, that is the intensity, emission intensity, somewhere here. And okay, from this graph we can calculate the concentration of a unknown sample, that is X, like this. Okay, so in this way, the calibration curve of intensity of emission is recorded, is plotted against the concentration of the element. So in this graph we can see a straight line is obtained which is passing through origin, and the concentration of the element in the unknown solution can be determined very easily. So this is a standard addition method in which the known solutions, that is standard known solutions, are introduced along with the unknown, the exact definite amount of unknown solution concentration, and in this way we can calculate the concentration of that unknown sample. The next method in quantitative analysis is the internal standard method. So this is very simple, in which the internal standard is a substance which is added in a fixed quantity to all standard solutions. For example, standard solution yes, then blank, then the sample X. Now here the nature of internal standard should be similar to that of a substance which is being estimated, also should not be present in the sample. Okay, so this is one of the condition in which the internal standard which are going to be added into the sample, that should be chemically or internally similar to that of the element which is to be estimated, and it is not present, it should not be present in the given sample. Then the ratio of the emission intensity of internal standard, that is EI, and that of analyte EA, is determined using appropriate filter and detectors. So for example, the lithium is added as an internal standard for the determination of sodium and or potassium, okay, in the blood serum. Okay, so in this case, this lithium is very similar to that of potassium and sodium, but it is not present in the blood serum. So from this graph you can see uh, how to determine the internal standard, how to determine the concentration of the unknown sample using internal standard method. Now let's see the limitations of flame emission spectroscopy. This flame photometry is helps to determine the total content of the metal, but but it cannot give information about the molecular form of that metal which is present in the sample. Then flame photometry cannot be used for the direct detection and determination of inert gases and halides. The next limitation is in this flame emission spectroscopy, the only the liquid samples are analyzed, but sometimes the liquid samples are prepared with very difficulty. The flame photometry cannot be used for the direct determination of all metal atoms. So this is also the one of the limitations, the major limitations of this flame emission spectroscopy. The last one is if two elements emit in the same wavelength range, then emission intensity recorded is due to the both elements. So this is also the one of the limitations in which we can't distinguish the same wavelength range line emission intensity lines. So this can be avoided by extracting out or avoiding one of the interfering element. So these are the applications and limitations of the flame emission spectroscopy. In the next lecture, we will see the atomic absorption spectroscopy. Thank you for watching.